I thought I would talk a bit about my favourite artists and illustrators that I have discovered over the years, from when I was super young until more recently, focusing on the Pre-Raphaelites, who are some of my favourite artists of all time. I guess we'll see how much we can fit into one video. I guess to start off with, we can talk about some illustrators. So Edmund Dulac and Arthur Rackham. I have one book of fairy tales illustrated by Arthur Rackham. Nothing by Dulac, but I will put on the screen some of my favourite artworks so that you can see what I'm talking about. I've just loved their works since I was a child, I think, because there's something undeniably creepy about the illustrations, and I think that kids gravitate towards strange things sometimes, things that aren't always soft and gentle. You know, some of the fairy tales are like really quite dark, and it just makes for an interesting story to tell a child. Even the cover image there. Yeah, I've always lumped Dulac and Rackham together because of their style. Yeah, I guess that was one of my first introductions into that style of illustration. Which brings me to a slightly later discovery, Brett Helquist, who illustrated a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, as well as a load of other books. I developed a bit of an obsession with Brett Helquist's illustrations when I was a child. I would copy his hands. I found that the way he did hands were just so elegant, and I would spend hours just drawing hands in his style. And I think to this day I've probably retained a degree of influence from the way that he depicts, you know, yeah, fingers and faces, particularly as far as that book series goes, because I was also obsessed with a series of Unfortunate Events when I was younger. So I've always loved Brett Helquist and his art as well. I think it's that fine line work that I'm drawn to. And I will give an honourable mention to Cicely Mary Barker, who did the classic Flower Fairies. Just the delicacy of the illustrations and the accuracy of the flora, particularly of England, I suppose. Not all of these plants were native to South Africa, where I grew up, but having spent a lot of time here in England, I can definitely see how well she portrayed the plants and flowers. So yeah, I love her illustrations. I think they're really beautiful. And yeah, as far as fairy tales go, I will also mention Yvonne Bilibin. This is a really old book of my mom's. It actually belonged to my granddad, because he's written his initials in there. Yeah, I really love Bilibin's artwork. The illuminated borders, almost drawing on biblical references, I suppose. I love the composition and the darkness, obviously, of the fairy tales. He really brings those to life through his illustrations. It's Finis the Falcon. Yeah, it's just the attention to detail is what makes this so mesmerising to look at. Pushkin, the depiction of water. Yeah, anyway, love Bilibin's work. It's another illustrator who I greatly admire. Next up, I will talk very briefly about Kit Williams. This is also a book that my mom has had for a long time. I used to look at it when I was a child, taking inspiration from nature and yeah, the detail once again is amazing. It's mesmerizing. I always loved this painting. Yeah, very surreal stuff. Almost like, I have spoken about this book before as well, but Jenny Thorne's illustrations in Edward Lear's From Boolean Poems. They have that similar dreamlike quality to them, where the colours and the strange contrast between creatures and weather phenomena and things you would definitely see in an extended lucid dream. Yeah, I always loved the illustrations in this book. Two slightly more surreal, maybe slightly unheard of illustrators, artists who might be interested in checking out, Kate Williams and Jenny Thorne. This is the same book I also spoke about in a previous video, but The Lion's Cavalcade, illustrated by Alan Aldridge. He does the most insane, very, very detailed paintings of mythical creatures and animals. Yeah, this book was truly spellbinding to me as a child. And the poetry is beautiful as well, especially this painting. Alan Aldridge, another really amazing illustrator that deserves a mention. I guess I'll go straight into the classical artists, Pre-Raphaelites, and their associated artists and people who have been influenced by them. I guess my first exposure to Pre-Raphaelite art in a broad sense was through this book, Fairies and Elves. And this contains some of my favourite paintings of all time, like Hylas and the Nymphs, but I will be talking more in depth about that now. I mean, I love all of the Pre-Raphaelite artists, but I guess if I'm going to focus on individual pieces of art, let me just start with this book actually. So we've got Pan and the Dancing Fairies. This is by Daniel Maclise. That's one of the paintings that enchanted me when I was super young. I absolutely love that painting, as well as Hylas and the Nymphs. It's by John William Waterhouse. He also painted a beautiful piece of work called Lamia and Ophelia as well, among others, but those are some of my favourites. The one is Midsummer Eve by Edward Robert Hughes. I was really enchanted by the way that the lanterns were depicted, how the luminosity could show through so well. You know, in a piece of traditional art, it's amazing how they were able to depict things that could glow and have a mystical light source of their own. Obviously Ophelia, that's by John Everett Millais. To be honest, I'll probably just put these on the screen because these are all captured in this little book here, but I can't keep opening it up and trying to find them. So yeah, Ophelia by Millais, as well as Ferdinand lured by Ariel, I think. Mariana as well. I think those are some of my favourite paintings by Millais. Also The Boer War by Sir John Byam Liston Shaw, which I'll put up on the screen. I love just how vivid the greenery is, the depiction of just the tiniest blades of grass. It feels so real, but it also feels so dreamlike at the same time. My favourite art, I love how green it is. Yeah, even with Ophelia, just the pigment is amazing. I've seen this painting in real life and it is just as vivid as you would imagine. I also love Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema, who I don't think is technically counted as a Pre-Raphaelite, but he was definitely inspired by them. He, I discovered more recently after reading Mary Renault's Alexander the Great trilogy, maybe about 7-8 years ago. It's actually really beautifully done. This is the trilogy I'm talking about, starting with Fire from Heaven. It's actually a painting by Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema called The Roses of Heliogabalus, and the full painting is just breathtaking. The depiction of every single rose petal in that piece of art is just, I don't know, leaves you speechless. There are a few others as well, but yeah, that's I think my favourite by him. Also, I mean, Dante, Gabriel, Rossetti is one of the most famous Pre-Raphaelites. Pandora, Dante's Dream, there's so many paintings by Dante, Gabriel, Rossetti. I mean, you could, yeah, I could film a whole video just on him. Truly amazing artist. I love his style and his depiction of the human form. And then just briefly along the same line of Pre-Raphaelites, to talk about more landscape-based artists. The Hayfield by Ford Madox-Brown is one of my favourites. I find it very realistic. I think the original art was critiqued for being unrealistic. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I think they said something about the hay being an unrealistic shade, but to me, if you drive, here we go, yeah, if you drive home, or you drive through the English countryside at dusk, in the springtime or summer, this is the exact colour that you will see. It's that sort of cornflower blue sky, a big moon, deep green fields, and then the gold of the hay. It's just, you will see this painting come to life in reality, and it's the most amazing thing. Oh, Brown's dealer refused this picture because of the unnatural colour of the hay, and it was bought instead by Morris. I don't find that unnatural, but anyway, that's one of my favourite pictures, together with John Ruskin's Study of Rocks and Ferns, which is, I actually have that framed up there, can't see it, but oh man, yeah, John Ruskin, that's probably my favourite piece of natural art of all time. He also did this study of patterns of rock. I absolutely love this. It's very obviously watercolour, so it doesn't have the richness and the depth that the oils would have, but I just find it an amazing rendition of nature. You can see the birch trees and the ferns and everything. And then there's another one I like by John William Inchbold. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, otherwise I'll just put it on the screen. It's just called In Early Spring, and it's another very realistic depiction of England. So here we go, yeah, In Early Spring by John William Inchbold. I think the bark on the tree and the flowers, the primroses, the sheep, it's just so, yeah, it's just amazing. And also John Brett is another really amazing landscape painter, or was, obviously not alive anymore. There are some of him in here, but anyway, I'll put them on the screen. John Brett's a really good one as well. And then last but not least, totally different, not like England or anything. This should really be lumped in with the surrealism, I guess, but Keith Alexander, try and flip to some of my favourites. He did these really expansive, really quite eerie landscapes of the desert dunes taking over buildings and old vehicles and boats, rusted boats. Yeah, I mean, oh, I wish I could show every single picture in this book, but it's very focused around desolation, themes of desolation and nature taking over. I used to love flipping through this book when I was a child as well, even though it kind of creeped me out. And the fact that there are places like this that really exist in real life, where the sand has just come in and drowned the houses. And yeah, the way, like this one for example, where he's got the old rusted boat and then the cloud formation is designed to look like smoke coming out of the smokestack. And also the more surrealist works like this, you have these strange futuristic buildings just creeping out of the rock, and you think, what on earth? And here's a big crystal in the middle of nowhere. Probably one of his most famous with the oryx. Yeah, oh, and this, yeah, another creepy one, old rusted steam engine. I don't want to spend too long talking about this guy, but yeah, this book is quite mesmerizing and so eerie. I mean, like this for example. Sand taking over houses. It's Keith Alexander. Really amazing surreal works there. Yeah, I could talk forever about this, to be honest, but I just wanted to film a relatively short video just discussing some of my favourite artists and paintings. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will probably talk about this subject matter again soon, but for now that is just a brief overview of some of my favourite artists and illustrators and actual artworks as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video.